Hello, friends. Welcome to the stream. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. How's everybody doing? First of all, can you hear me? I say this every time, but I can't hear myself. So, yeah. Um, Welcome. I'm your hostess of the Friday stream, Lisa. It's great to see all of you here. Um, Thanks, lest we remember. Great. Glad you can hear me. Cool. So today we're going to talk about exercise, which I think is very, very important for all women. Um, Normally on Fridays, we have been talking about feminist topics, and I think there is no more important thing for women and no more empowering thing for women than taking care of your health. How empowered can you be if you don't have optimal health? And it's something that's really within a lot of our control too. And having exercise as a normal part of your life and a part of your routine is a huge, huge component of that. There's also a feminist element to talking about exercise in a way that is not sexualizing women, in a way that is about health and confidence and empowerment rather than about seeing ourselves in a kind of objectified way, appealing to certain beauty standards and stuff like that. A lot of what you see in fitness and social media is very about the aesthetics of the female body rather than about health. And so you'll see, you search fitness, women's fitness on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or whatever, you're just going to see a lot of butts in tights. And that's about it. And then it kind of starts and ends there, right? And there's so much more to it than that. And there's so much more that we can really, really benefit from having fitness in our life besides being like a beautiful object for someone to look at, right? So I found this article in the New York Times that talks about the excuses that we make for why we don't exercise and how to rethink them. And I skimmed it, and a lot of it actually even resonated with me. I've been exercising for almost 20 years. I started pretty much after college. When I was in college, I thought, exercise, I was like an arty kid, and I thought exercise was for like dumb people or something. Like, I just thought it was like, oh, that's not for cool kids or whatever. But after college, I got into yoga, and then from there, I got into triathlon, and I started running more. Then I got into rock climbing. I did ballet. I've done rowing. I've tried a lot of different things. Right now, I'm very psyched on hiking and climbing. And yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about trying to find activities that you love and how important that part of fitness is. Finding things that you love to do, not just going to the gym necessarily. Some people do love that, and that's great, but it doesn't click with a lot of people. We're going to talk about that after because I think it really works in with a conversation here. And yeah, if you guys have anything fitness related that you're like struggling with or anything you want to add to the conversation, always feel free to use the chat. So, the way the Friday stream works, if you are new here, is we read an article together. I will stop and give my own comments and thoughts about things as we go. And I will also stop and read your thoughts should you have any. So, definitely feel free to chime in at any time. I will be keeping an eye on the chat. I love that aspect of this. Um, and Blorbo says, I freaking love lifting. That's great. It's really, I was looking up some research about this, and women who lift weights report having way higher self-confidence and way higher feelings of empowerment than women who don't. So again, that's where this fits into the feminist conversation, right? We should really all be doing everything in our power to maximize our feelings of confidence, empowerment. I put out a video this week about how I haven't worn makeup in 3, 4 years, and how much confidence and empowerment I've gotten from that, and that's great, and, like, again, we should be looking for all these ways that we can personally feel confident and empowered. Ruza says, "Yoga is my absolute favorite, running's a close second." And again, it's I love to hear that language too, it's my favorite. It's something that I love to do, right? Finding things that we love to do that doesn't feel like a chore and doesn't feel like exercise, if you know what I mean, but just feels like something I wanna do that because I get, like, dopamine from that, and I get a hit from it. Oh, useless is a great point. A lot of people see lifting as a guy thing. Climbing is that way sometimes too. Like, I'll go to the climbing gym and I'll be the only woman there. There'll be 15 guys and I'll be the only woman. And at this point, I'm really used to it. I think that's a kind of a thing. It can be intimidating to go into an environment where you're the only woman, but it is definitely something that you can adjust to and get used to. And like I said, the benefits are so powerful. Blorbo says, "I love stealing dumbbell benches from men." Hazel says, "Excited for this. I'm way fat and have been since I was a kid. I've lost 5 pounds since the new year. Happy for tips." Great. Um, Ice Goddess is working, but she'll be listening. Lily says, "HIT is my fave. High intensity interval training. Lifting is also awesome." So again, it's like the things that really, spark joy or whatever. Finding those things that you love to do. Well, radical. This is exactly what we're going to be talking about. Um, this is exactly what we're going to be talking about. Eighth is my climbing friend in real life. He says, "I doubt you were intimidated, more like you intimidated them when you ended every climb with a bat hang into a handstand onto the mat." Yeah, that's my goal for 2024. Enlightened Female says, "I love walking. It's so simple and we all do it, but walking a ton makes me feel happy and free." And Lydia says, "I just started running very hard, but I'm trying to stick at it. Not previously active at all." And like I said, I came from a background of, I think for 7 years I just didn't do anything. I was on the track team for 1 year in high school, and then like sophomore year of high school through senior year of college, I I didn't do anything. And I remember one time my friends they all ran a lap around this house where we were at a party, and I couldn't even keep up to run 1 lap around a house. I had to walk. So that, just because you're not in shape now doesn't mean that this isn't for you or that it can't be something part of your life. I mean, I'm definitely like an example of that. When I did my first triathlon, I came in like 3rd to last or something, and then I got really into it. So, you have to start somewhere, and this article is definitely all gonna be all about, like, breaking through those excuses that we all make. So, alright, cool. Let us get into it. Here we go. I want to work out more, but my sister had this book when I was growing up, and it was like a motivational book or something, and it said, "Let's get off our butts." BUTS, right? So getting off our butts and getting off our butts, right? How important that is. Yes, this is great. Sarah says, "I love that you started a little later because sometimes I feel like if I wasn't the sporty girl in high school, I can never get very fit." And that is just totally not true at all. You can start anytime. Even if you're 40, 50, 60, there's no time that is too late to start. And also, you don't always have to have the goal of being like, I'm going to become extremely fit. Like, it's just about increasing the amount of activity and movement you're getting in your body every day. Like, even 5 minutes a day will help. There's no amount that's too small. So it doesn't that's the other thing. You don't have to put that pressure on yourself to be like, "Oh, I gotta get super fit." Um, just doing more of anything. Okay, so let's see. I gotta get this situated here. Actually, gonna make this window a little smaller. There we go. So I can see your chat still. All right. I want to work out more, but I'm afraid of hurting myself. I don't have time. I'm exhausted all the time. I feel too self conscious. I don't have space. It's too cold. It's too expensive. I just don't like it. It's too hot. Do any of these things sound familiar? Do any of these reasons resonate with you and sound like things that maybe you've said to yourself? Now, I want to tell you guys, I've been working out myself for 20 years, but sometimes these these hit me too, right? So, even people who are regular exercises, we get hit with these buts. We've all been there. You set a goal to exercise regularly, but when the moment comes to get moving, your mind unleashes a torrent of excuses. I'm tired. That's a big one for me. I'm frequently tired. It's cold outside. I don't want to spend money on a class. These mental blocks may explain why it's so hard to keep a New Year's resolution for longer than 4 months. So, how do you cut through them? Now, New Year's resolutions, I think, I wish people would make resolutions in like April, May, because I think it's a lot easier to stick with things when you start it in the spring, summer, fall, when it's a lot easier to be outside and less of a chance you're going to get a cold or get the flu, and that's going to mess up your routine. But people do set New Year's resolutions, and you know, most people don't stick with them. That's just the reality of New Year's resolutions. So, the first step is to stop thinking of these mental blocks as excuses. Just using that word can suggest you failed and that you should feel bad about your willpower. Research has shown that self criticism and shame can actually stop you from meeting your goals, said Katie Milkman, a behavioral scientist at the University of Pennsylvania and the author of How to Change. So I set a lot of goals for myself. I have goals for things for every day, like for screen time and taking my vitamins and my diet and stuff like that. And I've started to think a lot about the word grace. And I just repeat this to myself all the time. If I don't meet a goal, if I fall short on something, I give myself grace. And I'm not hard on myself. I am very kind of easy on myself. I give myself grace, and that really helps me to not, like, totally fall off the wagon. So, like, if I set a goal, "Oh, I wanna exercise every day for the next 6 days," and I miss a day. Well, say I miss day 3. I don't just give up on day 4, 5, and 6 because I didn't meet my goal. I give myself grace, and I say, I reached for the stars and I hit the moon, so I'm just gonna continue on." Useless says, "Totally agree, you can begin your new year anytime you want. Don't go with the man's calendar." I love that. And Lily says, "The less you move, the more tired you feel, vicious cycle." And I think it's sometimes very important to listen to your body, but there is, like, a certain level of tiredness that you can push through, and then once you're moving, like, the law of inertia is very powerful, right? Um, and you'll keep moving and you'll get energy from that. Hey, radical. Awesome. I went for a half-hour walk this morning. That's amazing. And especially like with your job when you have a break, and I know you're very busy usually, but just go roam the hallways or whatever. Like, I don't know. That's might work for you, might not, but taking, like, those little micro breaks to just get a little bit of movement in your office even, just get up and do some squats or something. Fit it in. Um, Instead, reframe the reasons you aren't exercising as genuine obstacles and devise a plan to overcome them. Dr. Milkman said, I love this advice so much. It's, you know, anytime you kind of fail at something, right? You can look at like, why is this happening? It's maybe not a personnel issue. It's maybe not an issue with you. It might be a process issue. It might be something that you can work around and really examine. Oh, this isn't me. This is not my fault that I just have crappy willpower and that I'm not motivated enough. It's like, no, something is really getting in the way and it's a real thing. And we need to get over these obstacles. Radical says, I know I've been thinking I should take my lunch hour to walk around the block my hospital is on. It's a big block, but maybe I'll wait till it's not minus 40. Yeah, definitely. Um, Most of us just need a goal, she said, but specific steps, most of us don't just need a goal, but specific steps and strategies to follow. So I think this is such a great article. At Mango Peel, we were just talking about that a few moments ago. Exercise can be depressing because there's pressure to center your goals around the male gaze. And I've talked about this in the past too. I really stopped exercising for like a couple years ago. So I've been exercising again since July of 2022, I think. Um, but before that, I had really gotten into radical feminism, and that actually kept me from exercising because I didn't wanna go through that process of like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna look at my body again, and I'm gonna scrutinize my body again, and I'm gonna start to think like, um, what will make my body appealing aesthetically or whatever, and this is gonna just get it so into my head and that kinda stuff." And I really felt that, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I did because the benefits have just really been very good. Um, Sarah says, "When I worked in a hospital, I would run up and down the stairs a couple times per shift." I love this advice, and this is something I definitely do myself. As yourself, ask yourself, what would a fit, healthy, athletic person do, and be that person. I think of myself as an athlete. I'm 40 years old. I am not the strongest person at the gym or whatever. I think of myself as an athlete. I think of, how can I maximize my performance and stuff like that. And you don't have to think of yourself as like an athlete, but you can think of yourself as like I am a person who is getting fit. The way that you talk to yourself and that self-talk and how you spin it to yourself. I'm on the road to getting fit. Um, Instead of like, "Oh gosh, I'm just like so out of shape and this isn't for me." The self-talk is really important. Um, the mindset, you know? This is a really interesting. I think the pressure on women to just do cardio can be discouraging too. Cardio is super unpleasant for me because of asthma. I also have asthma. And I always bring an inhaler on my workouts. I always bring an inhaler everywhere, but yeah, I do get asthma even when I run on the treadmill and stuff like that. Um, so it can be something you can overcome. I think cardio is really healthy, but you don't have to do like super hard cardio either. You can do walking and stuff like that. Okay. I asked experts in exercise science and psychology to share their best advice for conquering common reasons people struggle to build an exercise habit. Here are their time tested solutions. So here is excuse number one: I have no time. Okay, every single person out there has enough time. Let's talk about why. If you face a jam-packed daily schedule, try starting small, said Kate Baird, an exercise physiologist at the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York. Instead of carving out 30 to 60 minutes several times a week, plan short bursts of movement throughout the day. If you're not able to do much, doing anything is going to be helpful in so many ways, she said. For example, walk a few laps around the block during lunch, she said. exactly what we are just talking about, or sneak in a series of squats between meetings. Ideally, you want these bursts to add up to the recommended 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity and 30 to 60 minutes of full body strength training per week. So, if you do squats or, little push-ups or something, a few minutes of that a day, few minutes, couple times a day, you can get to that 30 to 60 minutes of strength training. If you take walk a couple blocks um, on your lunch break, you can get to that 150 minutes of aerobic activity every week. And that's the reason why they recommend this 150 minutes of aerobic activity and 30 to 60 minutes of weight training is because research shows that that really will dramatically improve your health outcomes and your health across a variety of metrics. So, this is proven by science and research to get at least that amount of activity. Or you could multitask. Try walking or using a resistance band while on a phone call or watching TV, she said. Several of the experts I talked to were walking while being interviewed. If you want to have a dedicated workout window, Ms. Baird recommended taking a hard look at your calendar and asking yourself, is there anything that could go or anything you could trade for a dose of movement? Could you experiment with setting your alarm 30 minutes earlier? Or a little less screen time. I think there's scrolling time that probably everyone could cut out. If you cut out 10 minutes of scrolling time and replace it with 10 minutes of exercise a day, you will be mentally and physically healthier. Lily says, in the beginning of your fitness journey, making things as convenient as possible helps a ton. I followed workout videos in my room 3 times a week to start. Shower is right across the hall and no commute. Um, So, yes, there's scrolling time to cut out. We need to touch grass. There you go. Mango Peel says there's an influencer named Grow with Joe. I absolutely love her workouts. She has dance videos and even workouts you do when sitting on the couch. Yes. I'm a big believer of putting on like energizing music and dancing around for 5 or 10 minutes. It's also such a huge boost to your mood. Major benefits. All right. So, what's the next excuse people use? I feel self conscious. Does that resonate with anyone here? I feel like we've kind of maybe touched on this a little bit in the chat, feeling self conscious. Um, you know, if the thought of working out in front of other people makes you want to crawl in a hole, I know that you have options, said Kelly Roberts, a running coach and body positive fitness influencer in New York City. The gym is a really intimidating space, even for experienced exercisers, she said. I read the women's climbing subreddit, which is r/climber girls. And this is a topic that comes up so much because when you're in the climbing gym, you literally have an audience. You're on the wall and there will be like 5 or 6 people watching you as you climb. And it can be extremely intimidating, especially for people who are like new to it and they're by that nature, they're not that good at it, right? Like when you first start exercising, you don't know what you're doing. Even when you first start weightlifting, you're like, I don't know if my technique is good or if I'm doing this right or how to use these machines. And it is a very intimidating space. So let's see what say is the solution for that. For some people, a solution might be exercising at home. But for others, Miss Roberts recommended taking a few steps to combat feelings of self consciousness. Lydia says, yes, I hate being seen critiqued. Um, Blorbo says the mental health boost from exercise is amazing. Totally agree. Ruza says, heck yes to the dancing. YouTube videos at home, playing yoga or Pilates is the best. I totally agree. Um, Useless says, doing squats now, 12 times 3 with kettlebells. If you don't have kettlebells, use books. You could use books, you could use cans, you could fill up bottles with water. Uh, for weightlifting, there are a lot of possibilities if you don't have kettlebells or weights or things like that. First thing you can do to reduce your self consciousness is remind yourself why you're there, whether it's to feel stronger or train for a race. Reconnecting with your goal can help to shore you up, she said. Second, designate a friend or family member who you can text in the moment who can support you when you're feeling vulnerable. I love that. I absolutely love that. Um, Also, this sort of like having someone there to do it with you. And I'm going to get into some advice I have a little bit after the article, but having someone who you feel like you're in this with, that you can text and can really encourage you is really a great idea. Third, try a different gym, class, or group. If a space makes you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, it's okay to leave. Ms. Roberts said some spaces are more welcoming than others. So yeah, that's a really good point too, is keep trying to find a place where you feel comfortable. But also so like I mentioned with climbing, I've had to deal with that, having an audience. And you know what I just tell myself? I just don't care. Like I don't owe anyone anything. I don't care if they think I'm crappy or they think I'm good. Like I'm just there for myself. I'm not there for them. So it's kind of the way that I feel with like not wearing makeup. Like I just don't care. Like it took a while to get there mentally to that feeling of like not caring, but you just have to be like the only person that really matter, the only person's opinion that really matters of me is me. So in a way, I feel like dealing with that can help you build some mental toughness. The past few years have seen a burst of fitness offerings for people who may have historically felt unwelcome in gyms because of their gender, racial identity, body size, or athletic ability, like pace inclusive running clubs or gyms marketed towards LGBTQ communities. So, we've talked a little bit about body. Thanks, Radical. Please like the stream, everyone who useless is a little more a little more direct. What was I gonna say? Yeah, we talked a little bit about body positivity. I don't there are a lot of things I like about body positivity. Let's say that much. Um, I'm probably not as you know, radical extremist on my opinion of body positivity. I think there are a lot of actual positives to it. My only critique of body positivity is when it's the inclusiveness of being sexy and it's just expanding the bandwidth of who can be sexy. Then it's kind of pointless. But there's nothing wrong for someone who is in a body that's like not stereotypically whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, to feel good about themselves or to have positive feelings about their body. That's good. That is something we should encourage in people, I think. Um, I don't want to spend money. Okay, so it's another barrier. People perceive that working out, I can't afford that or whatever. But you don't need a fancy gym to get fit, said Grayson Wickham, a physical therapist in New York City. There's so much you can do with just body weight. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of body weight, mat Pilates, um, calisthenics. It's amazing. In fact, my regular routine, I have a little conditioning routine that I do pretty much every day, and I'm actually going to post a video about that pretty soon. Um, but my regular routine is all body weight, except I do overhead press with 5-pound weights. But besides that, I'm like very into body weight exercises. So plank, push-ups, lunges, squats, and pointers, I don't know what that is, can all build strength, and regular stretching can cultivate flexibility. For aerobic exercise, you can do jumping jacks or consider spending a few dollars on a jump rope. If you have access to a safe outdoor space, you can walk, run, or strength train outside and get the added benefit of spending time in nature. Love that too. For expert guidance, download a free workout app. Yeah, there's so many resources right now in this period of time. So, oh yes, I love this comment. Blorbo says, real, going to the gym was like exposure therapy for my social anxiety. Yeah, because you go, you challenge yourself, and one of two things is going to happen. Either nothing bad's going to happen, or something good is going to happen. You're going to make a friend, or people will encourage you, or whatever. It's going to get rid of that idea that this is a scary place. And that's really, really powerful. Uh, you know, Emlyn says, I also have it. I have social anxiety too, like big time. I'm so scared to go anywhere like that. Oh, interesting. Leslie Remember says, I guess I do exercise at home stretches, long walks, going up and down the stairs at work. For whatever reason, I didn't think that counted. So that's where it definitely counts totally. Um, that's where we really need to expand the bandwidth of what we think of as exercise, because sometimes we get in this narrow viewpoint of like, oh, it's not exercise unless I go to the gym and do the elliptical. It's not exercise unless I go to the gym and I lift weights. There's tons of stuff that's exercise that is like going to contribute to having really good health. So that's really, yeah, expand your thinking about what exercise is. Okay, it's too cold or hot. Um, there's a saying in hiking, there's no bad weather, only bad dressers. So too cold, well, where radical is, it definitely gets too cold. Um, too hot is another thing because that can definitely be a barrier too. I mean, it's like over 80 degrees, very hard to cool down. So, a shift in temperature doesn't have to be a bad thing. Think of the change in weather as an opportunity to try something new or include more variety in your routine, said Dr. Edward Phillips, an associate professor of physical medicine and rehab at Harvard Medical School. Maybe it's the middle of the winter and it's a good time to bolster your strength training and work on your core, or finally engage in a Pilates class or sink your teeth into some yoga. I love yoga as like a cozy winter exercise. That's the other thing. And I think the article does get into it, but like exercise also doesn't have to be you don't have to sweat, you don't have to feel like you're working out really hard. Like gentle yoga is exercise. It's beneficial and it can be like a really like cozy, chill thing, right? Um, or embrace the weather and try snowshoeing in the summer. Consider trading your run for a swim. The idea is not to necessarily say, but I've committed to running 3 miles a day, 6 days a week forever, he said. That said, as long as it's safe to exercise outside and you dress for the weather, occasionally working out in less than ideal temperatures can cultivate mental and emotional strength. You're getting even more mental challenge on top of your workout, and that's just going to make you better and more well prepared at anything you're doing in life. So I love that too, getting a little out of your comfort zone. That's really important. It expands that bubble. And like some of us are talking about having social anxiety or anxiety. These are opportunities to push your boundary of your comfort zone in a positive way and, really strengthen your mental toughness. I don't have the space. If you have room for a yoga mat, you have enough space to get in a great workout. And that is 100% true. You can get stronger and in better shape and more flexible in just a few square feet, as long as you can comfortably move your arms and legs without bumping into a wall or furniture. Beyond doing yoga, you could jump rope, do body weight exercise, lift dumbbells or kettlebells, stretch, or use resistance bands. So I hope this is all giving you guys some ideas. Um, if exercising in close quarters feels too claustrophobic, consider an outdoor space that you can make your gym, he said. Okay, now here's an interesting one. I'm in pain. Um, I think I talked about this. I posted a short yesterday because I had some success in the climbing gym. And I said, I'm 40 and I am in pain pretty much constantly. And it's true. The aches and pains are constant. It's always moving around, mostly my back. It's like my shoulder, then my lower back, my upper back, then, my shoulder again, then my middle back, whatever. It's like every day there's pain somewhere. But exercise is good for pain. In fact, sometimes I wake up and I'm so stiff and, so hard to move and everything hurts. And I move and I just feel like a million times better. So it might seem counterintuitive, but for those who struggle with forms of chronic muscle or joint discomfort, like low back pain, neck pain, or pain from osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, physical activity will likely help to make it better, Dr. Phillips said. And this is something I've done tons of research on. For many, many chronic pain conditions, exercise helps. Chronic pain is awful, but for many people, being inactive is adding to that pain. While exercise may not alleviate all pain, it can help people complete daily activities with greater ease and expand what they're able to do comfortably from, say, walking to the mailbox to going for a stroll on the beach or playing catch with a child. If you do more, you can do more. It's not a cure, it's a management. And often as you become stronger and more fit, the threshold for what causes pain goes up and your pain does diminish. If you live with chronic pain or any kind and want to be more active, talk to a doctor or an expert in exercise science who can guide you on the safest and most effective movements for your condition. But in other words, in most cases, pain is not it's not like an excuse, right? Because movement and exercise is really a good antidote for many kinds of pain. Okay, I'm exhausted all the time. This was me, still is me. I made a video a couple weeks ago about having iron deficiency anemia, which, by the way, a billion people in the world have. So there's a good chance that at least a few people statistically in this chat have it also. A lot of people have it and they don't know they have it, but they have the symptoms of it. The main one is fatigue. Um, I cured my anemia by changing my diet mainly and by taking supplements, but I still have iron deficiency. And another 2 billion people in the world have iron deficiency without anemia. And it can really, really impact your energy level. So let's see what they say about people who feel exhausted all the time. I would say if you feel exhausted all the time, there are so many different causes of it. It's really worth trying to get to the root of why you feel that way. Um, but exercise can definitely it can help for sure. When the word exercise makes you feel tired, experts recommend meeting your body where it is in a few different ways. I think the first practical way to approach this is to ask yourself, are you working out at the best time of day or the best time of the week for your energy? So that is a really good, hold on, I'm going to sip some water. So that's a really good thing to ask yourself. I know that I have more energy in the mornings, like mid-morning. That's usually when I'll swim and stuff like that. I'll go like 10, 11 in the morning. That's my peak for the day. Um, if you know that you have the most energy first thing in the morning and generally feel wiped out late in the afternoon, try working out early in the day. If getting started feels like a hurdle, Kelly McGonigal, a health psychologist and lecturer at Stanford, recommends beginning with a mini workout designed to boost your state of mind. Exercising for the length of one song is great because a song will change your mood. And this is so true. Do something that reminds you that it feels good to move. Remember that exercise doesn't have to be intense for it to count. Stretching, yoga, Pilates, walking, or jogging at a conversational pace are all great options. And finally, do what you can to ensure you are getting enough sleep. Lydia says, I am a supplement nut because of fatigue. Don't know the cause. Yes, it's worth trying to figure out the cause, but I would say, like, if you're tired all the time, first look at sleep because that's a lot of us aren't getting enough. I had really bad insomnia last night. By the way, I was actually gonna do this stream today. I was gonna do yoga because I was like, I'm gonna do an article every other week and I'm gonna do yoga every other week. And I just like I was up from 2:45 to 6:15 and then I fell back to sleep for a couple hours, but yeah, insomnia, whatever. Yeah, if you have a lot of fatigue, I mean, there's lots of different causes, right? There are chronic conditions that can manifest as fatigue. So it is definitely worth um, trying to figure that out. Ruza says the mental strength slash health i- is that accrues over time is so worth it. I struggle with joint slash nerve pain in my hands, but stopped using it as an excuse. Definitely the mental strength. It's great. Lily says the menstrual cycle can also change your energy levels from week to week. During ovulation, I feel totally zapped for a couple days. So do I. Um, that's another area where like having grace with yourself, right? We are not like machines and we're not robots and we're not men. We are, we have a fluctuating level of hormones and our reproductive hormones, estrogen and progesterone, uh, do impact our energy levels a lot. So some people can feel more energy when they're on their period than, like, say, right before it. Um, and it can really, yeah, your cycle can definitely impact your energy level. Okay, here's another one. And this is one I really want to talk about. I just don't like it. If you have yet to find a form of movement that you enjoy, keep looking. Exercise doesn't have to mean going to the gym. It can be as simple as dancing alone in your living room, playing pickleball, or chasing after your kids or grandkids. Basically, moving in any way that brings you joy. Plus, research has found that when we prioritize fun and movement, we're more likely to stick with it over time. In the meantime, like, obviously, if you need an immediate incentive to move, try a trick Dr. Milkman came up with called temptation bundling, in which you save a riveting audiobook, podcast, or TV show to enjoy while exercising and only while exercising. I like that tip. That is really cool. Her research suggests doing so may keep you coming back for more. And it also like it gets you into that routine and that habit. So say you're watching a show and you watch one episode a day, right? And when you watch that episode of that show, you get on your yoga mat, you do some stretches, you do some squats and some push-ups and things like that. Just move a little bit. So you're like, yeah, I love that idea. I'm afraid of hurting myself. Okay. Exercise carries some risks, but remind yourself that the benefits of physical activity outweigh them. On the flip side, if you remain sedentary, your risk of deleterious health effects is 1%, 100%. If you're new to exercise, recovering from an injury, or haven't been active in a long time, start slow. Definitely. Definitely, definitely. Um, Caution Dr. Tamana Singh, co-director of the Sports Cardiology Center at the Cleveland Clinic. The best way to avoid getting injured is to progress gradually, not taking on too much too soon. Yeah, there's no rush. Like there's you have kind of all the time in the world, right? There's really no rush to get, you know. Thank you Emlyn for joining us. Okay. Yeah, there's no rush. So you got lots of time. If you start out with 5 minutes a day, you don't have to start out with an hour a day. And it's definitely not a good idea to do too much too soon. Build confidence and use that confidence as a motivator to continue exercising in the long term, she said. For extra peace of mind, check in with a sports medicine expert who can advise on the safest and most effective approach for your body. I would also say about that idea of setting like almost little micro goals. Um, I've done that in the past, so when I've wanted to, like, in the past, I've done, like, yoga streaks where I'll do yoga, like, every day for 3 months or whatever, and when I start those, I'm trying to work up to, like, doing an hour a day, but what I'll do is I'll just tell myself, "Just get on your mat for 5 minutes every day." And it's so easy to do that, you kinda can't not do it, but it helps you build that pattern and build the habit, you know? Habits are so important when it comes to exercise. So, if you just tell yourself, "I'm gonna do 3 minutes a day. I'm gonna do, you know, 5 squats a day," or whatever. I'm talking about squats a lot, like, just because it's whatever, okay. Anyways, um you give yourself like I'm gonna walk for 5 minutes a day. If you give yourself a goal that's, like, so dead easy to achieve, you will do it, and then you will build the habit, and oftentimes, you'll find, like, "I feel so good doing this, I wanna keep doing it," you know? Oh, hey, the baby weights are great. I use, uh I use the baby weights myself. Okay. And that's it. That's the article. There are some comments. Let's see what top comments. Um, I hate gyms. I had dodgy knees and I'm diabetic. The short story is I blackmailed myself into getting a Concept 2 type rower. And after a short while, I grew to love it. That was 5 years ago. I never looked back. My knees are good. My cardiologist gave me an A plus. I'm 75. I can row 5 kilometers in 20 minutes flat, and fitness-wise, I'm in the top 5% for my age group. I am so lucky to be able to do this. So, this is like an example. There is no age too old, right? This person started at 70. I remember when I first started getting into fitness, I was around like 21, 22 years old. And I was trying to get my sister to work out with me. And my sister was 25. And my mom goes, "Oh, she can't work out. She's 25. That's so old." And she's too old to be doing that, right? That that maybe is maybe like an old way of thinking. Exercise is not just for kids or people in high school or college or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Lily. Well, my mom now, I often go to the Y with my mom, like, and my dad. But both my parents, they're over 80. They exercise every single day, and it's the fountain of youth. It is what keeps you young. I used to work in a doctor's office, and I would notice a huge difference around age 50 of people who took care of themselves throughout their life and exercised and ate healthy and stuff, and people who didn't. They at around age 50, they just totally diverged. The ones who took care of themselves, their health was good, they looked young. The people who didn't, they were on their way to dying. That's at that age. It's like, do you wanna be 50 and just ready to start the second half of your life, or do you wanna be 50 and you're, like, on the way out already because you didn't take care of yourself, you know? Sarah says, "My local group classes are mostly older people trying to stay mobile," and I love it. I love that too. I used to go to, like, Tai Chi, and I was literally the youngest person there probably by, like, 40 years, and it's awesome. It's so, like it's really uplifting actually to exercise with older people. Walk for your life, for your whole life, and to live. Ruza says, "My grandmother's 75 and she walks everywhere since she no longer drives. She's a powerhouse." Love that. So, yep, Radical says all very good tips. I agree. This was yeah, here's another one. Fitness transformed my life. My motivation runs deep. Um Over 35 years ago, having moved back home after dropping out of school, suffering horrible insomnia, I went running one night. The exhilaration led to a radical lifestyle change, finishing college, adoption of an ovo-lacto diet, an intense drive for success and resolution of my neuroses and insomnia. I could never not work out except for short-term breaks for surgery or injury. The benefits are so broad, emotional, intellectual, and physiological, and built into my life that I would never stop unless, of course, I literally could not. And I feel the same way, basically. I like took a couple years off, and once I got back into it, I was like, why why did I ever stop this? Um, and maybe as feminists, sometimes we are worried about like focusing too much on our bodies, or some of us who have like overcome EDs and stuff. We don't want to get into that mindset of being really focused on our body, but there's definitely a way you can exercise without being overly focused. Um, yeah. Another thing about that fear, one of these that was afraid of hurting myself. Um, you know, Injury can be a part of exercising, but if you have multiple different things you enjoy doing, you can probably still be moving every day, even if you do get injured. Like, for example, I've had a lot of issues with my shoulder. When my shoulder's acting up, then I'll walk more or I'll hike more. When I'm having issues with my foot, then I'll swim more, swim with the pull buoy. So it doesn't use your legs at all. Um, and I can kind of get in activity every day, even if something is hurting or feeling like it's on the verge of an injury. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that were in the article and just some like more advice that I have. Wanted to go for about an hour today. Okay, cool. So we have like 10 minutes um, at least. The idea of broadening your view of what exercise is, that it's not necessarily just going to the gym, that it's not necessarily just doing like the elliptical or um, just doing weightlifting, that there's lots of different things that are exercise that are going to get you to this like optimal state of health and fitness. You almost have to, if a barrier for you is just like, "I just don't wanna exercise," then don't think about exercise. Then don't think like, "I'm doing exercise," right? Think about, "I'm gonna find something that I love to do that also involves moving my body." So, there are a few different categories here. Something that is social or in a group. That also happens to be moving your body. So like I mentioned, like Tai Chi, um, hiking, like a hiking group, a biking group, uh, a class that you're taking with your friends, something that's the primary motivation for doing that activity is to get some social interaction because that feels good, but it happens to be oriented around movement. Like Blorbo says, joyful movement. Yes, this is finding the joy in movement so that it becomes a part of your life. If you hate doing it, you will never, ever develop the habit of doing something that you hate. Because there's a lot of other things out there you could do that you will have a good time, like sitting and watching TV or whatever, or surfing the internet. Those things feel good. You get tons of dopamine from them. So you have to find an activity that you love to do. So that another way we can look at exercise is are activities that have a mental challenge component to them. And I think like dance classes, ballet, I always felt like I'm just thinking the whole time. I'm trying to follow the steps. I'm really bad at following steps and memorizing choreography and stuff like that. So but I'm getting this workout, but I'm not even thinking about the workout part of it. I'm just trying to, like, follow the directions of what this instructor is saying. So, an activity where the primary component of it is a mental component, um, and rock climbing is very much like that as well. something that has a nature component. So you're going to get out and go for a hike and just see how beautiful nature is. Um, or something that has another activity as its primary goal, like walking a dog. That's exercise, right? But the main thing you're doing is walking a dog. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go exercise. I'm just going to walk a dog. Um, or like walking around your city, taking photographs of interesting things. That's exercise, but maybe you feel like maybe you're doing art instead, right? Or whatever. So, you can kinda trick yourself into doing exercise by sort of prioritizing either a social aspect, a mental component, a nature component, or, like, just something else. Enlightened says, "My favorite physical activities don't require instructions. I like being told what to do once and refining it, even if I'm good at following instructions." Okay, so everybody is different. Hazel says playing the Eras tour and dancing along. Guilty. Dancing while cooking, if it works for you. Lydia says, I'm lucky to have so much nature accessible by public transport, but I imagine car centric places would struggle adding to the cost. Be careful with lives. Expired. Hello. Um, so we talked about how women who exercise feel a greater level of confidence and empowerment in their daily lives, something that we should all be reaching for more confidence, more empowerment. That's how we want to walk through this world feeling really good about ourselves. Exercise also builds discipline, it builds mental strength. You have to overcome discomfort. That is part of exercise sometimes, or it can be. Not necessarily, though. Like I said, like you can do cozy yoga and you will never feel a moment of discomfort. And that's definitely still exercise. And, the satisfaction of accomplishing goals is also so, so important. I want to just talk briefly about goal setting because now that we're all excited to exercise, should we set some goals for ourselves? Um, and if we set goals for ourselves, what kinds of goals should we set? Now, I just have like a very broad thing to say about goal setting, and that is I'm a big believer in input oriented or action oriented goals versus output oriented or results oriented goals. So, what does that mean exactly? So, an input oriented goal is focused on like what you're actually doing versus an output oriented goal is focused on the results or the outcome. So, just for an example, you could say, I want to jog 20 minutes 3 times a week. That would be an input oriented goal. You have a lot of control in that situation over what you actually do. An output oriented goal would be like, I want to run a 5K in 26 minutes. The reason I don't like output oriented goals is one, you're setting yourself up for disappointment over something that you might not have a lot of control over. So, there are other factors that might go into um, why you achieve that goal or you don't. So, but saying I'm going to show up and do the workout 3 times a week or whatever, you can do that. You have control over that. Now, the the most common output oriented goal that people have regarding fitness is weight loss. And I would like to make a video about this at some point, but I do not believe in setting a weight loss goal at all. It's something I feel very strongly is a bad idea for most people. Um, and well, the reason I haven't made a video about this yet is first of all, I'm not really like a fitness channel. Um, but I also feel like because I'm like a thin person that people would be like, "Oh, what authority do you have to talk about that? Why should you tell people that their goals aren't good?" And I have a lot of reasons why I really strongly believe that weight loss is not a good goal and that there are so many better fitness-oriented goals that are gonna be healthier and are gonna lead to better outcomes long term. The harms of setting a weight loss goal really can outweigh the benefits a lot. It is so problematic for women. I mean, first of all, if you set weight loss as a goal, um, the likelihood that you're gonna end up doing unhealthy things just to achieve that goal, if that's really some people have that as their only goal. Their goal is not like, I wanna, decrease my blood pressure or I want to increase my endurance or my strength or whatever, like, those are really good fitness goals. Their goal is just like a number on the scale. Well, if that's your only goal and your goal is not strength and endurance and fitness, you may end up doing risky things to achieve that goal, and a lot of people do. Um, it's a slippery slope, like someone said. Um, it can lead to disordered eating. In my opinion, by its nature, a calorie restrictive diet is an eating disorder. Um, I'm a huge believer in intuitive eating. We did stream about that last year, and eating when you're hungry, not eating when you're full, listening to those cues. Your body knows best. Um, and that's why that's why. Okay. If you don't reach your goal or you've set like a time-based goal, I want to lose 20 pounds this year and you don't reach it, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And you could have improved your strength, improved your fitness, improved your endurance, but maybe you didn't hit that weight loss goal, and so now you're, like, depressed over it. Um, Another reason is oftentimes when people start exercising, their weight increases, and that's because when you start exercising and if you were sedentary before, your body will retain more water in your muscles and your tissues to facilitate the more water hydration needs that you have when you're exercising. Um, so you can you start exercising, you can gain 5 pounds within the first couple of weeks. Also, as your body composition changes and you lose fat and you gain muscle, your weight could go up before it goes down. And um, and so that can be really discouraging if you have a weight loss number goal and you every week you're stepping on the scale, or some people like every day you're stepping on the scale, which is like such a bad idea, or even every month or whatever, and you see that number go up, that's psychologically like so devastating. Um, yeah, Lily says, when I started lifting heavy, I gained weight. And that's right? So even uh, it happens to thin people, it happens to overweight people. When you begin exercising, your weight's going to go up initially, and then some people are like, "Oh, what's the point of this? My goal is to lose weight. I'm working out. It's not working. Well, maybe I'll just stop working out and I'll just starve myself instead." This is what I mean about when you set that as your primary goal. You know, you may end up doing risky things to achieve it. I have a couple more reasons. Um, the difficulty of maintaining and the plateauing that can happen, right? So even if you hit a weight loss goal in the long term, if you plateau, what happens when you get there? You had to do a lot of stuff. Maybe you had to do a lot of calorie restriction. Maybe you had to do heavy duty exercise to get that weight down. Are you willing to maintain that calorie restriction and heavy exercise over like an indefinite period of time? It's not so hard to do it over 10 months or whatever, but to keep that up for 10 years, very difficult. Um, and it's a harsh reality that probably don't a lot of people don't wanna hear, but I think it's something like over a 5-year period, people who lose 10% of their body weight, 95% will gain it back, and many of those will gain even more above. So, these are all reasons, like, I don't believe in weight loss as a goal, and maybe I will make this into a video, but, um the other thing is it's not necessarily associated with better health. Um, in fact, in certain age groups, being in that overweight one category is actually associated with better health outcomes than even being in the normal weight range. That's because having a little extra body weight can be very protective in chronic illnesses and like cancer and stuff like that. Um, because it's a resource for your body to draw on. And it's not necessarily like unhealthy. That's the thing. That's where I talked a little bit earlier that, like, there are things that I vibe with in the body positivity, um, movement, and one is that you can be healthy at a much wider range of sizes than we currently think about in our society now. Um, yeah, and this is right. I agree, like, I don't have this perspective, and I understand, that desire. What I would recommend instead of setting a number weight loss goal, I've just given you like 6 or 7 or 8 reasons of why I uh I mean, these are like proven reasons why this is, it's not a good goal, it's not a healthy goal, and, I haven't been there. I'm the opposite, and which has its own issue, right? Um, I've had struggled to gain weight, and a lot of people will go to people who struggle to gain weight, "Oh, you're so lucky. Wow, I wish I had that problem," and stuff, and it's like, we're really, like, 2 ends of the same spectrum, you know? It sucks just as bad, just in a different way. But I haven't been overweight, and I understand, like, the societal pressure, right? Like Blorbo says, I was overweight my whole childhood, and it's socially brutal. Um That's, like, why I have felt like, "Oh, this is a difficult thing to talk about," but I really do believe, like, as far as goal setting, a much healthier goal would be to find an activity you love so that you do it, and weight loss may be a byproduct of that, but it's not make it your total focus, you know? And we all get this idea in our head of what number we should be. I've had an ED in the past, so I definitely know that. And that was something that kept me exercising for a couple years. Like I didn't exercise basically at all from late 2019 to 2022. Um, and the reason was I was like, "I don't wanna fall into these unhealthy patterns and focus on my weight or my body shape or whatever." So, to that extent, I can understand that, I can understand that, you know, um, but yeah, I would say there are so many better goals than, picking a number on the scale and saying, "I wanna be that number." That's not a good goal. That's what I'm saying, like, I just feel again, sure, I haven't been overweight, but I feel very strongly for all the reasons that I listed that it's just not healthy. Yeah, okay, existential, this is great. I don't count calories at all, but I'm still losing by eating whole foods and protein. I think our frankenfoods cause a massive amount of issues, and I agree with this so much. Like, again, a better goal than setting a number on the scale would be like, I want to improve my diet. I don't want to count calories or restrict calories. I want to eat more nutritious foods because one reason we stay hungry all the time is we're eating this processed garbage that is engineered to make you crave it and make you addicted to it, and, it has no nutritional value. either. So you eat all this stuff, you're still hungry because now it's all full of MSG. You've all got like your glutamate receptors are just like totally overloaded and you're addicted to this stuff. It's given you no nutrition. And now your body still needs nourishment. You're still missing all those vitamins and minerals that you need to like survive. So, um yeah, I think again, good goals, increasing the number of minutes you exercise, and I'm a big believer in tracking how many minutes you exercise and what you did and effort level and stuff like that. That's a great thing. Whether you have, I love my Garmin. It's absolutely changed my life. But you could just use a spreadsheet or you could use a notebook or whatever to track your workouts so that you can see like week over week how much you're doing. Maybe you want to just increase like slightly every week. And another good goal would be like just, yeah, cutting out processed foods and eating more fruits and vegetables, high fiber foods, whole grains, and lean protein. And like you will get there. That's the thing. Like, um, whoever said it, like, "Oh, you don't understand what it's like to be overweight." Um, I get that wanting to change your size, but I'm saying, like, having a number as a goal is not the way to go about that. You may change, your size may change as a byproduct of all of these healthy behaviors, but the most important thing you did was establish healthy behaviors. You have to do that. If you set a weight loss goal and you meet it, but you didn't establish healthy behaviors, you are going to gain all of that weight right back. You have to establish healthy behaviors. That is how, whether you end up losing weight or not, you will be healthy. And that is what will make you empowered and increase your confidence is a health, not being a certain number on the scale. So that's my that's my sermon on health and fitness. Sarah says weight loss is not a good SMART goal. So SMART stands for well, M is measurable, T is timely, A is achievable. I'm trying to remember. I knew this at one point. Um, so I lost weight, but only after I stopped trying and instead focused on diet. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand wanting to be a different size, but that's also, another reason why I really believe in like body positivity to a degree. Like, I think we should, Lily, Lily got it. I think we should really focus on loving our bodies as we are. None of us have like a perfect body that does not exist. So our first thing should be to love ourselves as we are. And once we do that, when you really love yourself, then you want to give your body what it needs to be optimally healthy. That comes from a place of self love. So I think I'm going to end on that note because we've gone over a little bit. Lydia says, true, to be honest, I lost the weight very unhealthily, but now I'm working on it. And, again, like, don't be afraid of the scale. I really don't think, you really need to weigh yourself or whatever, but just focus first, self love, second, like, doing all those things that are going to make you healthy because that's what self-love is, right? It's like, how would you treat a loved one in your life? You wanna give them everything to make them healthy and happy and confident. Treat yourself that way. You have the power to do that. So, oh, I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this stream. Me too. Me too, and I will say this still happens to me to this day. Some of the fears that I had about exercise and focusing on my body, those thoughts crop up. That's very normal. Look at the society we live in, right? So trying to think of some ideal out there or whatever, it's just not really it's not going to take you to a good place. So lest we remember says I needed this, Radical says great stream. Lily says best stream ever. And I had to be honest with myself that one reason why I wasn't exercising, even though I thought in my mind I'm this liberated feminist and I don't need exercise because I don't want to be focusing on my body, is because not exercising kept me really small and thin. And that was I was conforming to that standard of I'm just laughing at this. Um, I actually was conforming to that standard of smallness and thinness, and part of me didn't wanna gain weight when I was exercising, so, I understand a lot of those thoughts, right? I get this, I'm still in this, I still live in this world that we all live in. It's very hard to be 100% perfectly liberated, but it's more important to be healthy. And to be healthy, you got to eat healthy and you got to move your body. So, hopefully, if you had any excuses of why you're not exercising, this helps you dispel some of that. And yeah, again, really I really appreciate you all being here. The chat was amazing today, as it always is, and I really appreciate it. I want to advertise Radical is streaming next Wednesday, so feel free to go over to her channel and subscribe to Radical Ramblings if you're not subscribed to her. She is going to be talking about BBLs. So I love that. I may join her on the stream. It's the history and the dangers of BBLs. And man, plastic surgery and stuff, that's another topic that I just love. So, yeah, hopefully we'll all be there for that. And yeah, once again, thank you all so much for joining me for the stream. I'm actually going to try to go for a run this afternoon. And I hope that you will all find a way to get some movement today if you haven't already. And yeah, if you ever need anyone to hold you accountable for fitness, come here, this community, we will do it. And yeah, just try to uplift each other. All right. Thank you all, and I will see you next time. Maybe next week's video I will talk about weight loss. I don't know. I feel very scared to talk about it, but we'll see. All right. Bye. Bye.